I love bacon. And if you're like most folks, you love bacon too, along with other pork products. But what you may not love is the direction pork production is headed in this country. Hi, I'm Randy Traum, your host and narrator. With the changing ag economy resulting in big ag farming on a factory level, feedlot operations are growing at an unprecedented rate. The results are the lowering of water tables and failure of water wells, the environmental impacts of bad manure management, and the lack, if not the outright resistance, to local feedlot zoning and planning. Our story begins with Dale Schmaling and Sonia Traum-Ayers, who tell us about the ever-growing size of hog feedlot operations in the immediate area and how it has affected them and how it may affect you and others in the near future.
Dale Schmaling, and I live halfway between Hayfield and Blooming Prairie, 6 from Blooming, 5 from Hayfield in Westfield Township, Dodge County.
My name is Sonia Traum-Ayers, and I grew up on the family farm in rural Dodge County, Minnesota, just west of Rochester, Minnesota.
Dale, what year did your family settle in Dodge County?
1959. I was a foreigner. I moved from Moore County into Dodge County in 1959. I've been called a foreigner.
And my great-grandfather settled in Westfield Township on the south end of the county in 1892. And the family farm where I grew up, this is the farm home where my father and his siblings grew up. There were 10 children here on the farm, and my father has been on this farm for 86 years.
Tell me about the number of hogs near your farm right now.
There's approximately probably 30,000 hogs within 2 miles of me.
This is a topic that has been of particular interest because there are now 11 hog buildings within a 3-mile radius of our farm.
I think it's two families, possibly 3 families that have this number of hogs.
How has the close proximity of these nearby hog operations affected you?
My biggest concern, the biggest effect that I've had is in the loss of water in our well. Our well has been dropping in 1993 when we moved where we are now. Our well has dropped in water level about 13 feet.
This comes at a cost. What kind of cost is involved?
$7,000 to $8,000 on trying to salvage this well.
Over what period of time?
Since probably 1995 or 6, somewhere in there. That's when the problem started.
Is this an out-of-pocket expense, your foot in the bill?
Oh yes, it's all my expense.
We made an inquiry with the DNR. There are only 6 water appropriation permits here in Dodge County. And the feedlot, the most recent feedlot that they've constructed near our family farm, just a half-mile west, there's an uptake of approximately 10,000 gallons of water per day. It's 2,400 head of hogs times 4 is 9,600, so estimate 10,000 gallons of water per day times 365 days. That's over 3.5 million gallons of water per year. And if you're withdrawing 1 million plus gallons of water per year, you're required to have a water appropriations permit in the state of Minnesota.
So your claim is that they do not have proper permitting based on the projected amount of water usage for 2,400 head of hogs.
That's right. And so the DNR apparently isn't aware of how much water is being taken up by these feedlots. So with 11 hog buildings in this immediate area, and assuming they all draw 3.5 million gallons of water per year, that's close to 40 million gallons of water that are being taken up per year just for livestock usage in a 3-mile radius.
What's the DNR doing about this now? Are they doing any investigating here, any testing, any measurements?
The DNR has started a sweep. They actually started a sweep here in Dodge County, given the fact that there are reports of wells going dry, reduced water pressure. We are actually aware of at least 4 wells in Dodge County, here on the southern end of Dodge County, where people have had to dig deeper wells or replace their wells because the wells have gone dry.
Where is it at right now, and where is it heading?
My water table is still dropping, and I don't have a lot of water left in the well. We're maybe a year or two at the max from drilling a new well.
Connecting the dots, Dale explains how he feels his current water well problem is the result of his proximity to 30,000 hogs.
This is what my well company told me. The person that's been servicing my well, I asked him about 10 years ago when this started. I says, why is my water table dropping? Why am I losing water? And he says, look around. He says, count the hog numbers. He says, that's where your water's going.
Next, Dale went to the County Environmental Services office and explained his well water issue. He was told they couldn't do anything for him and recommended he take his concerns to the regional DNR office in Rochester, Minnesota, where he was informed.
They said I'd have to file a complaint. Well, at that point, I wasn't ready to file a complaint. And then this winter, we really had some more water problems. The well couldn't keep up with, or the supply couldn't keep up with the demands of the well. And so I went back to the DNR, and they said they can't do a thing unless I file a complaint. I says, I'm ready to file a complaint.
A common expression in feedlot operations and measurements is animal units. What is it, and how does it work? Sonia Tromers explains.
An animal unit, isn't that an unfortunate term? An animal unit is actually it's part of the production line. And so modern agriculture has defined an animal unit as what's equal to one mature cow. So one mature cow is one animal unit, and 3.33 hogs equal one animal unit or one mature cow. So you can see how that multiple and how that carries on with turkeys and chickens and so forth.
Okay, if you would, compare and contrast that with the population of the state of Minnesota.
Well, again, the MPCA estimates that our population, most Minnesotans believe that our population is a little over 5 million people, but if you actually measure it in terms of manure output, there's something called a manure equivalency. The population, as estimated by the MPCA, is actually over 50 million people, given the amount of manure that's being produced in the state of Minnesota. It's an incredible number, but it helps us understand why we have high nitrates, high phosphorus in our waters, because we're not sharing this land with just other people. We're sharing it with thousands and thousands of animals or animal units.
With a lot of hogs comes a lot of manure. So where do they spread the hog manure from all these feedlots?
We're kind of unfortunate because the farmland that we rent out and own is not around our building site. We have 20 acres on the building site, and I'm surrounded by land owned by these hog producers, and that's where they're spreading all the manure.
Dale explained that feedlot operators can only put down so many pounds of manure per acre, rotating every 3 years.
I went to a meeting last winter, and they were talking about feedlot inspections, and they said that they have 225 feedlot facilities, and it takes them 3 years to go around and inspect each feedlot. So if a feedlot has an inspection, you don't have to worry about another one for about 27 months.
And again, remember, you have 234 registered feedlots in the county. There are only 37 manure management plans that are on file. Those are manure management plans that were supposed to be filed at the time of application, so that the county had some idea and some reassurance that there were sufficient acres for spreading of the manure.
I don't think they have to worry about compliance.
Dale went on to cite a particular incident with manure spreading that appeared to have gone far beyond responsible manure management.
Here a few years back, there was a farmer, he had some land was a hog farmer, and he had some land about a mile from me. And he had 20 acres of land that he didn't get planted that year for some reason, whatever. Evidently it was to empty his manure pit on. And about the middle of summer, he comes out there with a tractor trailer semi with a load of manure. And there's probably 8,000 to 9,000 gallons in that trailer. He didn't have an applicator. He wasn't pulling an applicator or any sort to knife it into the ground. So he opens the gate valve in the back of that, and he just drives around the field and just lets that manure run out on the ground.
The manure saturation on this parcel of land took place for at least 3 days, spreading thousands and thousands of gallons of liquid manure to the point where the tire tracks by the implements became inches deep in manure.
And that didn't soak away for 3 days. It stayed full like that until it finally soaked into the ground. Now, to me, that was a blatant violation. The stench was terrible because this was in July or August, and it was in the 80s to 90s temperature. And nothing was ever done about it.
I understand the Cedar River runs nearby. How far are you from the Cedar River?
I'm 1.25 miles north.
Dodge County serves as the watershed for both the Cedar River watershed and the Zumbro watershed. And so we have water flowing out of Dodge County into Rochester, Minnesota, and also into Austin, Minnesota.
And you believe a lot of this manure runoff is reaching the Cedar River?
It had to. There was no place else to go because the ground was so saturated. The first rain that came, it went right in the Cedar River.
Dale's openly public concern for his well water and the blatant disregard for manure management did not make him all that popular with his feedlot neighbors.
Well, the major problem I have is with some close neighbors that after the Westfield Township annual meeting got pretty vocal in my face demanding that I apologize for the stand I took against this.
Based on what?
Based on the petition that we went around and had signed wanting to discuss planning and zoning adopted in Westfield Township.
They felt you had no right to...
I had no right to do that, and that I should apologize for what I did, and also I should apologize for complaining to the DNR about my well. And he said, why don't you just shut up and drill your own well like everybody else?
So did you apologize?
No, I said, I won't apologize because I don't think I did anything wrong. And then when I went around that petition, I had a signature from a person that said he signed it and everything. He and his wife both signed it. And when I came back to have him come to the annual meeting, I was ordered off the place. He said I'm trespassing. He says, and if you don't leave, he says I'll have the sheriff remove you. I says, all I want you to do is come to the meeting. He says, you're trespassing. I'm not going to say it again.
Although Dale may seem to be a lone voice in his efforts, he's found support from many others that are also concerned about their water and the way manure is managed.
I think there's enough people that would like to have planning and zoning, but it was quite evident at the meeting. We had 69 petitions signed calling for planning and zoning. And when it came time to come to this meeting, they wouldn't show up. They were not at the meeting. I would say out of the 69, we maybe had 10 people that were willing to come to vote.
So people were willing to sign the petition, but didn't want to get any more public than that.
I had 2 people that I asked to sign petitions, and they said they wouldn't sign it because of the harassment they would get. And one person said she wouldn't sign it because she said, if I do, I'll lose my job. I know I'll lose my job. So she says, I will sign it only as an ultimatum. At that time, we needed 33 people to sign the petition, and we only had 21 people signed. So she says, if you can't get your required signatures, come back. She says, I'll risk my job. And another fellow said that he had one of the hog people came right up in his face years ago, and Didn't come to blows, but it was close. So he says he wouldn't sign it, but he would too as a last resort if we didn't get enough signed petitions.
In obtaining this story and acquiring video, we also encountered a bit of confrontation as our vehicle was being followed closely by one of the hog farmers in their pickup and another on his ATV. It was obvious they didn't want us around. Sonia, can you tell us why you're standing in front of garbage alongside the road here?
You can see in the background our parents' farm is located just over my right shoulder. This is typical of the harassment that our family has faced this past year as we fought installation of the feedlot that's directly behind me. This is the type of garbage that routinely is left along the roadside ditches, near our farm, in our driveway. And in fact, just last evening we had a vehicle that pulled into our driveway at 2:20 in the morning. This is typical of the harassment that we're facing because we're speaking out against Big Ag.
Sonia, I hear a number of issues about feedlots happening right now just to the south in the state of Iowa. Are you concerned about Minnesota becoming another Iowa in this regard?
Very concerned. The state of Iowa, we're hearing reports that there are a number of abandoned feedlots. The feedlots are being constructed on just a few acres of land. It's easy to abandon those feedlots and leave them behind for someone else to do the cleanup. We're also hearing reports that there are wells. If you look at the Iowa DNR website, there are reports of wells that are being dug in Iowa anywhere from 40 feet to 2,000 feet just to get clean water.
How is that affecting not only the local ag areas, but also the local communities around these feedlot operations?
Well, there are reports with respect to reduction in the property value of farms in the nearby areas. There was a study that was done within the last few years. I believe it was done by the University of Iowa. And so there is academic literature regarding the reduction in property values.
Compared to Minnesota, how many hogs are there in Iowa?
I understand that there are over 21 million hogs in Iowa based on data from the USDA. That's compared to approximately 7 million hogs in the state of Minnesota. So 3 times the number of hogs in Iowa.
All right, so where can people find out more information and how can they get more involved with the Dodge County Concerned Citizens Organization?
We have a website, and that would probably be the easiest place to look for more information. That's just dodgecc.org. We certainly would welcome telephone calls or emails. We're finding that there is certainly a lot of interest in this topic, a lot of concern. People are very concerned about what's happening in rural Minnesota. And if it can happen here in Dodge County, it can happen anywhere.